Welcome back to Where We Listen, a place where stories of resilience, courage, and growth come to life. Today, we're sharing a story that's both deeply personal and universally powerful. It's about one woman's journey from being trapped in an abusive relationship to reclaiming her freedom and rediscovering her sense of self. This is the story of Sarah, and it's one that speaks to the strength and resilience within us all. Before we dive into Sarah's journey, a quick note: this story involves discussions of emotional and physical abuse, so it may be triggering for some listeners. If you or someone you know is experiencing abuse, please reach out to a local support service or helpline for assistance.
When I first met him, everything felt magical. I was in my mid-20s, working a steady job but feeling a bit lost in life. My friends were all settling down, starting families, or climbing the career ladder, while I just seemed to be coasting along. Then, he walked into my life, like a breath of fresh air. He was charming, attentive, and seemed to know just what to say to make me feel special. We met at a friend's party, one of those casual get-togethers where I almost didn't go because I was too tired from work. But something nudged me to show up. There he was, standing across the room, looking as if he belonged in another world, confident, charismatic, and utterly magnetic. He approached me first, asked me about my job, and made me laugh within minutes. It felt like everything just clicked. Our connection was instant, and before I knew it, we were spending nearly every day together. Looking back, it's easy to see how quickly I fell under his spell. He made me feel seen, appreciated, and wanted in a way no one else had before. Little by little, I started to share more of myself, my dreams, my fears, and my insecurities. I thought I had found my soulmate. But the truth is, that was just the beginning of a nightmare I didn't see coming. The first time something felt off, I brushed it aside. We had been dating for about 4 months, and we were having dinner at my place. I had just gotten off the phone with an old college friend, laughing about some shared memory. When I hung up, he looked at me with this expression I couldn't quite place. He asked, "Who was that?" I told him it was an old friend from school, nothing more. But his demeanor shifted. He grew quiet, distant. Later that night, he asked if I still had feelings for my friend. I laughed it off, saying, "Of course not, we're just friends." But the way he pressed, asking me to delete the friend's number, saying it was only out of respect for him, made me pause. Yet, I told myself it was just because he cared. He loved me so much that he wanted me all to himself. I thought that was what love looked like: complete devotion, a little jealousy, right? From there, things escalated slowly. He'd comment on the way I dressed, asking me to avoid wearing certain outfits, because they were too revealing or attracted the wrong kind of attention. He'd tell me which friends were good for me and which ones weren't. I started to feel like I was walking on eggshells, constantly worried about upsetting him, but I still didn't see the reality. I didn't realize he was isolating me, taking control bit by bit. It's amazing how fast your world can shrink when you're with someone controlling. I used to have a close-knit group of friends. We'd go out on weekends, catch up over coffee, or just hang out and watch movies. Slowly, he started finding reasons for me to skip these outings. "Why do you need to see them?" he'd ask. "You've got me now." One by one, I started canceling plans. I told myself I was just prioritizing our relationship. But in reality, I was losing myself. I didn't realize it then, but every time I chose to stay with him instead of meeting my friends, a part of me disappeared. I became more isolated, more dependent on him. He was the center of my universe, and that's exactly how he wanted it. My family, who lived a few hours away, started to notice something was wrong. I was always too busy to come visit, too exhausted to talk on the phone. They'd ask me if everything was okay, and I'd brush it off. I'd tell them I was fine, just overwhelmed with work or busy with my amazing boyfriend. I was lying to myself as much as I was lying to them. The first time he got physically aggressive, it shocked me to my core. We were having a heated argument about something trivial, something about my cooking. He raised his voice, and when I tried to defend myself, he grabbed my wrist. I remember the look in his eyes, cold and unrecognizable. My heart was pounding, and my body felt paralyzed with fear. He didn't hit me, but the pain of his grip left a bruise that I had to cover up for a week. He apologized profusely afterwards, crying and begging for forgiveness. "I just love you so much," he said. "I can't lose you." I don't know what came over me. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to believe that this was just a one-time mistake. So, I forgave him. But it didn't end there. Over the next year, our fights became more frequent, more volatile. He'd break things, punch walls, yell until I was shaking with fear. But he never laid a hand on me again, at least, not physically. Instead, he broke me down with words. He called me stupid, useless, ungrateful. He said I was lucky to have someone like him who put up with me. I started to believe him. He chipped away at my self-esteem until I felt like nothing, like I was the problem. I remember the moment I knew I had to leave. It was a cold, rainy night. We had just had another blowout argument, and I was sitting alone in the bathroom, my knees pulled up to my chest. My face was wet, but I didn't know if it was from the shower or from tears. I looked at my reflection in the mirror and didn't recognize the woman staring back. She looked defeated, hollow, like a shell of the person I used to be. That's when it hit me: if I stayed, I would lose myself entirely. He would consume me, destroy me, and there would be nothing left. I knew leaving wouldn't be easy. It was terrifying to even think about it. But something deep inside me whispered, "You deserve better. You deserve to be happy." That night, I made a promise to myself. I would leave. I didn't know how or when, but I knew I had to get out before it was too late. It took months of planning. I started hiding away small amounts of money whenever I could, reaching out to friends I hadn't spoken to in ages, and looking up shelters and resources for domestic abuse survivors. I felt like a secret agent in my own life, constantly looking over my shoulder, afraid he'd catch on to what I was doing. The day I finally left, I waited until he was at work. I packed a single bag with the bare essentials and walked out the door. My heart was racing, my hands were shaking, but I didn't look back. I took the first bus out of town and went straight to a shelter I had contacted in advance. It wasn't easy, starting over with nothing but a suitcase and a heart full of fear. But for the first time in years, I felt free. I felt like I could breathe. I found a job, rented a tiny studio apartment, and began rebuilding my life piece by piece. I joined a support group for survivors, made new friends, and slowly, I started to rediscover myself.
Sarah's story isn't just about escaping an abusive relationship, it's about rediscovering the strength and resilience that lies within. For anyone out there who might be in a similar situation, know this: you are not alone. There is hope, there is help, and there is a way out. No one deserves to be trapped in a cycle of abuse. If you or someone you know is experiencing abuse, please reach out to a trusted friend, family member, or local support service. You deserve love, respect, and happiness. Thank you for listening to Sarah's story here on Where We Listen. Don't forget to like, comment, and share your thoughts below. And remember, every voice deserves to be heard, every story has value. Until next time.